Hi, everybody. It's Paula, and we're here at the Common Book Show. Today we got a big group. We've got Jason, and we've got Richard, and we have James, who was in the same box with Jason. We have Celeste and Vanessa,
They're in
and
the penalty box.
of course my son Tom on drums, and there's me, Paula. And I don't know if I said that already. Okay, so I wanted to start the show today with a little. I was very confused. I've been reading Plutarch's Lives, and I will be for the rest of my life. And I heard recently, in the last 5 days, that Elon Musk had another child, and the child is called Selden Lycurgus. Now, Lycurgus is somebody I read about in Plutarch's Lives, and I think I mentioned him before. He was the lawgiver of Sparta. They're not sure if he historically existed or not.
But if he did, he was a good cop.
Well, no, I mean, he actually went to different countries and he absorbed the laws of those countries so he could come back to Sparta with the best of the laws. And so he did the best of album of laws, and that's where Sparta got its reputation because, all right, so it was a focus of military focus, and also he had this idea of a communal world where nobody had luxury. Everybody ate the same. Everybody would sit together to eat. The men, of course, the women didn't count. So
They didn't eat?
the men, they ate at home. The men would sit together and eat, and they would all eat the same thing, no matter
Sandwiches.
what. They all had the same amount of property. So it was a communal society, and he instituted a system of coinage that was iron instead of gold. And so I was wondering, are there any of these things that Elon Musk was trying to get across in the naming of this son of his, this new son of his?
Is Dogecoin like the iron money?
Well, that's what I was thinking, and they're going into the gold. They're going
to look for the spray painted
they're going to
gold
go
bricks in
look
Fort
at the
Knox.
gold,
Yeah.
and I thought, does it have anything to do with taking us off the gold standard?
We're going to Bitcoin because he's establishing a Bitcoin reserve that's presently right now valued at about 7 billion in Bitcoin.
Right. So could we say that this iron coinage thing has something to do with him naming this son? I mean, because he's certainly not looking
conspiracy theories.
Looking to live communally with the rest of the world. He's not trying to give away his money and unless he thinks of himself as Spartan, and he might because he's crazy and he has this idea about himself that's not true. The richest man in the world. And
he has all his wives and kids on a compound, right? We know
that. They're not wives, they're just concubines.
I'm sorry.
Musk is known for living.
All his baby mamas are on the compound.
Well, that's what, and they all agree. I mean, it's not like he's like hitting them over the head and pulling them into
Musk
a cave.
There's always more volunteers.
Yeah, it's true. But these are not the women you should be dating.
Musk is known for living a Spartan lifestyle, though. He is known for
the type,
living
the
on
mindset.
minimal food and sleeping in the office. Musk is notorious for living a Spartan lifestyle himself. He's known for that.
Where does the ketamine come in?
Yeah.
Maybe because he doesn't eat and sleep. I don't know. Because his brother, who is not the richest man in the world, but is very much involved in sustainability and nutritional eating and agriculture. He seems to be maybe a polar opposite.
I was going to say it's like the yin and the yang of that family for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't, wallow in the, with a gold toilet like the other guy.
Yeah.
A gold toilet is class.
Class for the ass.
Along with a well-done steak with ketchup on it.
Yeah. So I just found he's got some
Big
weird
Macs
names.
for everyone.
His kids are all named weird things, and I don't know if I want to spend that
Zappa.
much time on him thinking about how he names his children. But I just thought it was interesting because I have been reading Plutarch's Lives that he chose Lycurgus
Well,
for a.
what's interesting is the way you read the name Lycurgus, because in Latin, all C's and G's are hard, like that. And I don't know if in Greek, if they would call him Lycurgus or what, because I don't know the Greek, but that's the Latin. You're doing it right on.
You know what? I look up how to pronounce things because I am in a sea of words that I've never seen before or heard before. And so when I look at some of these names and I think to myself, how do I pronounce this? But it would be, yes, it would be, Plutarch would have pronounced it this way.
Lycurgus, yeah.
Right, but he's Greek. So Lycurgus is he's a Spartan.
Well, no, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would say it.
Yeah. I look it up because I'm not good. First of all, I have some kind of like dyslexia thing going on, and
So you pray to dog?
I pray to dog, exactly. Dog has answered many of my prayers. So that was how I wanted to start the show. I just found that interesting that he would. First of all, why would you do that to a child? Like, I guess Selden, they'll call him Selden, but to have a middle name of Lycurgus, I don't.
Well,
It's actually a sort of cool middle name to have. It's better than a common one, I think.
Well,
I wouldn't mind having a weird name like that. That's sort of cool.
you get teased though. Is of course he's not going to be.
You're not going to get teased if your father's a billionaire.
That's right. You're absolutely
or you
right
will.
about that.
I mean, look at
Yeah.
all those British kids that go to Ivy League schools, and the actors, they get teased by the local no-name rich kids.
Yeah,
And,
I
Yeah.
guess, but they don't care because they got a lot of money and.
I don't
screw
know.
them.
It can work pretty when you're 19 years old. It can be pretty strong.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know.
who's the one from the Harry Potter? The girl.
Hermione.
Yeah, didn't she go to Brown?
In Providence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she went to Brown, and she was teased horribly. I mean, she was borderline hazed by the American girls.
Well, we're ugly Americans. But,
Yeah.
Well, it's
Well, now we're uglier than ever.
Rich don't really care.
well,
right?
you know.
We're not beautiful Canadians.
We're not.
But they said on
Canadians
Toronto
are
radio,
beautiful.
Toronto and New York people are the same because they said we're nice until you talk to us.
Well, I was really conscious when I went. When I did a lot of reading about why Americans are they're rude to us because. You know what? When you go to another country, they're used to greeting each other before asking for something. When I went to Paris and I went to the train station to get a ticket, and I said to the woman, I said, and I said it in French at the time because I remembered how to say it. I said it in French, and she looked at me and she said, "Bonjour." And then I said it again, what I wanted, and she says, "Bonjour." And then I looked at her and I smiled and I said, "Excuse me, bonjour."
Bonjour.
And then I asked, and but she was pretty persistent with me, and I realized what I was doing wrong because Americans were just very direct. We're like we walk up to the guy in the food truck and we say, "Give me a hamburger." You don't say, "Hi, could you please give me a hamburger?" And I think in Europe they have a different way of being.
But, language is all local because it was like that joke about the Dalai Lama. You ask the Dalai Lama, how do you want your hot dog? He says, make me one with everything. But when they told him that joke, he didn't get it because language is so different. The make me one with everything.
It would translate differently. Yeah.
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 All right. Okay. Woo. Well, so I didn't bring any. Oh, I did start the Narnia series, and did you read that when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know
Neither
what?
Lion, the Witch, nor the Wardrobe.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed because after reading Anne of Green Gables and what was the other one? Oh, the Wizard of Oz. The writing isn't as good
Yeah.
as those other two books. And I was hoping that I was going to get some kind of, elevated writing like I got with the other two books. And it's not only that, but a computer's reading it. So you'll get things like, so she said to the White Witch, it doesn't follow through. So it's a little difficult.
And hope sometimes comes out hopped.
Yeah, but it's a British robot. So
But
it
my
sounds
American
good.
voice
A
GPS
Dalek?
says turn right on Miller Strip.
Yeah,
Can't say mile strip.
mile strip is they do get wrong, and they also get whirl
Whirl.
for whirly.
Whirl.
Really.
Yeah. So anyway,
So here
that's
they go
what
to
I'm.
the Hawaiian streets.
Oh, I know. I've got a thing about that in the second book, because when I went with my stepfather, he kept getting lost in Honolulu because of the names of the streets, because they all sounded alike to him, and it was when I learned that fuck was his favorite word. So there was an episode in the book, but all right. So we've been just jabbering away. I know Richard's got stuff on his list. We'll start with Richard.
Yeah.
Somebody's putting stuff in your chat about the king that was on the TV and his
Oh.
Apple Music, and then somebody's asking
And his
about
favorite Shakespeare play.
Shakespeare.
I don't know if they're talking to each other. I think Nick and okay, so Nick, okay, someone to talk because it's too short to have no one talk. Do you have any favorite Shakespeare plays? The ones I've enjoyed. Okay.
Titus Andronicus.
Oh, I think they might be talking to each other.
Well, they're talking to each other, yeah, because the other one's talking about King Charles's playlist.
Yeah.
That was actually on the news this morning.
Oh, really?
National news, yes. The king has a playlist.
Screwdriver is on it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I should see if Kendrick Lamar's on it.
On your subject of
Yeah.
language,
Great
I
Americans.
Yeah, go ahead.
once had a Bosnian girlfriend, and I was always getting in trouble with her because I would go to say, "Will you bring me the pitcher of milk, please?" But I would never get to please, because she would already be offended because I didn't start the sentence. Please, will you get me?
Oh, because of the way their sentence structure is. Yeah, I can see that though. I can see that being an issue. There's every language has its own way of setting up the words. I never got the English grammar well enough to be able to translate it into any foreign language. You said you're good with foreign languages.
Well, I know what an appositive is.
I don't.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
The appositive is a phrase that's in commas that adds to a descriptor. Like my dog Skip is over there. Skip is the appositive.
But do you have to use apostrophes if you're just using one word like that? My dog Skip.
That would be appropriate, though. You'd put that in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't have the or the commas, it's not clear that if you skipped your dog across the water like a stone,
Okay.
which would be really cruel.
That would be cruel, and I don't think it would work either. Richard,
Gnome.
Richard, do you have a thing on your list you'd like to start with?
Well, that's up to you. There's a new style in the world of fashion.
There always is.
Yes.
They have to make something new so you buy it. That's their
and
whole
everything
job.
old is new again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're thinking of consumer fashion.
Yeah.
I'm talking about avant-garde fashion, like, the dresses are so expensive, only a few people can afford them.
Right.
Yes.
Are you interested in
couture.
seeing the new fashion trend?
I am.
Yes.
Sure.
yes.
Yeah. Let's see it.
Okay, so Mr. Windsor, how do you want me to send you these photos? Oh, send it to myself on Facebook. Okay. So remember I posted that image from the Grammys where the woman was wearing a transparent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, that must have lit a spark in the minds of the avant-garde fashion designers.
So more naked women. Is that what we're seeing?
So people going to the Oscars were contacting their dressmakers saying, I thought that was pretty cool, that see-through dress. Can you design something for me? And lo and behold, enough people did this. So if you look at the images from the Oscars, you see what is called nude fashion.
Oh,
So I will send
it
these.
had to get
And
to
that's
that
interesting
eventually.
because all the dresses of the stars that I liked were glamorous and clothed. Just one or two had too much leg, in my opinion. That's kind of dated.
No
Since
such
Angelina
thing.
Jolie did it years ago. Why are we still doing it?
Well, there's a difference
Because we
between
can.
fashion and style. Some
Lean
people,
back.
if
It's all been
somebody's
done before.
if somebody has got style and that encapsulates their style, then I don't see why they can't wear. I mean, I can't. I don't wear short skirts because I don't have great legs, so I don't
Yeah.
wear them.
And I don't wear short skirts because I don't own any.
I could
not?
change that for you.
Yeah, that's easily rectifiable, but
Oh yeah, so it does. I wonder now. Do you think that there is a sheer like a beige? I mean, it looks like
Yeah,
the exact
that,
color
body
of her
slip.
skin. It looks like the exact color
no,
of her
she's
skin, though.
wearing black panties, and there's the brassiere cover. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
On this one it is, but on some of the other ones they have body slip. But she
Yeah,
just
they-
has a little
Right.
bikini thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that she's obviously these people pay a lot of attention to their bodies. You know, they're very careful about their bodies. I don't know how they. I mean, some people are just naturally fit, but most
Well, you
times
know they're
going to
have pictures everywhere, and if you go behind the scenes in Hollywood before the Oscars, the month before the Oscars, people are getting every kind of treatment you can get so that they can
Oh, yeah.
to a dress for 2 days.
Yeah, it's true. And
They get the gold leaf skin, they get
what
the hair.
what I'm impressed by are people like and I see I have that problem with names. The woman who was in Sophie's Choice,
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
Seeing Meryl Streep one year, a couple years ago, she's not that young. She had on something that was low cut, and she had her arms exposed, and I'm like, wow. She either works out a lot or something's going on here. A lot of Elmer's glue, but I was impressed. I'm impressed when I see, and she doesn't look like she's had surgery, so I don't know. I find it interesting that some women can wear those things that at
There
that
were a
age.
lot of older, and I say older, meaning people age 50 and up.
Yeah.
Because, anything under,
Yes.
that had form fitting,
Yeah.
low neckline, low back line, sleeveless.
What do you think? A lot of it's Ozempic.
No, I think a lot of it is like, the way a movie set or a TV set is so phony when you see it behind because it looks good on TV, but the structures aren't there and they're hollow. They're the same
Like
way.
the moon landing?
And so it's like that Simpsons. I'm ignoring you, Vanessa. The way
Address the issue.
Homer looks like this, but behind it's all the clamps, pulling his skin tight,
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
the
yeah.
way. That's what a lot of it is. They're looking good, like you say, pulled back, boob tape, whatever, lifting up, but they pour out when they're done because
Is that even possible?
yeah, and
Well,
yeah.
they get zipped in and sewn in dresses.
right.
Yeah, that's well.
That was
okay.
in-
I guess
They
I'm
do.
naive about
I mean,
this stuff.
Halle Berry, her first dress, she said she can't sit because it was all glass shards.
Oh my
I
god!
mean,
Oh,
she-
that thing that she had on that was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that was even
So it looked
45
wonderful,
years.
but she had to stand
That-
until
Yeah.
it was time to change.
In Greece, Olivia Newton-John said she couldn't pee in the black pants at the end. So she said she had to go before she got put into them. Because
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm into comfort.
Oh, the Oscars is not for comfort.
No, it's not
for
for show.
show.
Definitely for show. Do you
But
have?
I like this year's fashion.
There's
Do you
more
have
pictures.
more? Yeah, I'd like to see some
I'm
more.
waiting for Mr. Windsor.
Oh, okay.
And I like the fact that the men are wearing now these very daring and large brooches now.
Oh, that was cool. We did notice that the diamonds,
Yeah,
They got
every
the-
kind of
yeah.
thing on the lapel, thing on the shoulder. I think that's nice. They got some different kind of bling. And it made me
'Cause-
join a group about the brooches back.
Well, I have brooches. I should start wearing them.
You should. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's used as language. We know that Madeleine Albright used hers as a language. We know the late Queen Elizabeth II used her
Yeah,
brooches
yeah.
as language.
I saw something about that. I don't remember where I
Yeah.
saw that though. So we have any more pictures, Tom?
Yeah, if he would have sent me them beforehand, I had a problem, right?
Okay. All right. So we can. So was there anything that anyone saw on the Oscars that struck them as fabulous or not
People
so
actually still
fabulous?
watch the Oscars.
Oh, God,
I
we went
didn't.
to Renee Saraki's and
Yeah.
watched it.
I couldn't be.
You couldn't do it.
Well, I'm totally
I'd rather watch a
disinterested.
Trump
Oh.
speech.
I
Oh,
didn't.
no.
I
I
did
didn't
not
watch that
watch
either.
the Trump
Those
speech.
suck too, though.
I couldn't watch that. Yeah.
No, I didn't go near anything related to Trump's or speech because I know I hear about it the next day in the morning.
2 hours. I don't have 2 hours to waste.
Listen, and when I heard the piece where he said he was the number one president and George Washington, president
Oh,
of the
yeah.
United of the Republic, is number two, I thought, where are the people with the white jackets?
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, there's a push, there's a proposition in the Senate to get Trump on the $100 bill after his presidency is over and kick Ben Franklin off of it.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
start
real
burning
thing.
money at that point. It'll be youth pointless.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh, here's one.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Does that meet with your approval?
Does it meet with my approval?
Yes.
I have. She looks fine. I have my own feelings about what. I think that. I don't know. Maybe I'm deluding myself. But even as a young person, I thought that if you show too much, it's less sexy.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this falls under the heading of showing too much. This is lingerie. I mean, she looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. She's a beautiful woman. She's got a great body, but it's lingerie. It's not.
Well, these people need to do everything they can to get their picture taken.
Yeah.
So instead of, we're thinking about style, they want a fancy name, and then they have to go and be exhibitionists.
But
because that's real.
it's the same. Richard, do you still watch Saturday Night Live?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do every
I'm
week.
a big fan.
Yeah,
It's new.
Yeah, we do too. And the thing is, we judge the musical acts. We always listen to the musical acts just in case. but half the time, or maybe 3/4 of the time, it's a live sex on stage show. It like
Give examples.
the music is not as engaging, and I can't think of the names of the performers.
Well,
I
because
don't-
there are no names. That's why I say, who is this person?
And the thing is, all they're doing and the one was using one of those voice synthesizers to keep her on
Vocoder.
Oh,
completely on
auto-tune.
Auto-tune, yeah,
auto-tune.
because obviously she couldn't sing, and I'm thinking, and it was just this live sex on stage, and I like dance music. I think dance music is fun, but this is not dance music.
Donna Summer, Love to Love You, Baby.
Yeah,
That's all I got to say.
yeah. Well, yeah, that was a.
Are you thinking of Chapel Roan, perhaps?
Chapel Roan, is that who it was?
Could
Yeah,
She have red hair.
she
Does
did like
she-
that at the
Does she?
Grammys
Yeah.
also.
Oh, okay. So I don't. So that doesn't. To me, it's like.
Oh no, the other girl, not Chaperone, who dresses like a I don't know, some sort of wizard or whatever case. The other girl, similar, dark hair, bright red lips, coming down with the underwear and the coat. through
Oh,
the
yeah. I think.
hanger. Yeah, nearly nude.
Dua
So-
Lipa? No.
No,
not
Dua
Dua Lipa.
Lipa's-
She's a new artist, very much like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
yeah.
trying to think of.
Yeah, I can't think of what it.
Well,
She was
I-
coming through. She was filmed with her crew coming through
But-
the hangers and then up on the stage.
Right. But what my point was only that that it just seems like we're going through a period of time where this kind of exhibitionism is normal, and it doesn't appeal to me. I mean, maybe because I'm older. I don't know.
well, that's the whole thing. What do people appeal? Sex and food.
I want to know why you're giggling
Mac
over
rib.
there, my love.
Because I'm hearing my grandmother say that if you want to keep people out of your barnyard, don't dress your critters like a petting zoo.
And that actually is true.
I like that. I like your grandma already, and I don't even know her. But right, and we've talked about this before. If you wanted to have people to take you seriously, don't have your body parts exposed. If a man did it with, if a man had a shirt, an open shirt on, and low cut pants, and his pubic hair sticking out, nobody would take him seriously. If he was
Wits.
if he was trying to have a conversation in a boardroom, don't do it. It's just not. It's not. Practical, and the
Well-
same rules should apply for women as do for men.
Well, it is inequitable towards women, that's for sure. I mean,
Well, women have better bodies, so
well, but also, if two women show up to the same place wearing the same thing, they snipe at each other and they go different ways. Two guys are wearing the same thing; they're like long lost brothers.
it's more like 100 guys wearing the same
Wow,
thing.
look at
Tuxedo.
this.
Yeah.
Did I even see this? Did they show her on the Oscars?
Oh, one of the channels, each of the networks always have their Oscar fashion.
Yeah, that's
review,
that's
so
quite.
I'm sure.
It kind of it Lady Godiva, right?
Yes.
That's Lady Godiva because
Oh, is
it's all,
that
it
Venus?
looks like
Oh,
hair.
like hair.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
I
That's
didn't
what
pick
that
up
is.
on
That's
that.
Godiva.
yeah, Lady Godiva.
'Cause she's standing on the photo mark.
Yeah,
That's where they all have to stand and get their picture. They're all
Yeah.
on the same mark.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I get out of that.
So if you're not on the list of a film or a movie that's getting some recognition, you got to try and get your name out there somewhere. I mean, that's the whole purpose of that thing. Go and get your name in Vogue or New Yorker or
Yeah.
TZ or
Well, it is. It's
P6 or one of those
there
things.
is a lot of
Hark
competition
boys.
out
Yeah.
there for
Yeah.
yes,
Any publicity,
yeah,
anything, good or bad, that
Yeah.
as long as you mention my name.
yeah. And it does come down to that because there is so much competition. And we were just talking about music, Greg and I. Before you only had a certain amount of bands that you had the radio, and you had some bands, and the radio station played a lot of genres of music. And now there's so many people making music, and it's across
no, in the
across
60s, if you-
so many platforms.
The 60s were jam-packed with all kinds of underground psychedelic acts that never got airplay. It's massive. If you try to collect those records, there's thousands of them, and there's thousands you've never heard
Right,
that are
but
spectacular.
nobody heard them
Or-
because we didn't have platforms. Now we have a platform, the internet.
Or
Just-
they weren't spectacular,
yeah.
and they were kind of, but not quite. Because I read that story about Bubbling Under. That's the chart, Billboard's Bubbling Under, the ones that are moving up, but they haven't made it on the top 100, and they could never find this song. It was like a phantom song. Like in 1974, when Punch Imlach drafted the Japanese player that didn't exist. He just to prank the whole system, to punk the whole system. They thought that this band never existed, and somebody found this song, and it was a garage band that did a one-off, and it actually did exist, but it was like a treasure hunt to find out that they really existed, or was it just somebody that did that to the list to corrupt it, just to
Yeah.
prove that they can.
I don't know, Richard. I don't know if you know this, but Kenny's band that he had in New York, and now that I'm even talking about it, I can't remember what he called it. All of a sudden, he had a CD out, and it was a released privately released CD, and all of a sudden in the early 2000s, somebody discovered it, and all of a sudden it just blew up like crazy across the internet. And it's like, oh, this great hair band from the 80s,
Oh, yeah. Like
it was so great, and
Rodriguez.
they were selling his CDs for $100 on eBay,
Of which he saw nothing, right?
which he saw nothing, but
Yeah.
he re-released it, and they ended up making some money on it. So these things can happen.
Well, if,
And it was great because it was a picture of me on the front cover. Not a photograph, but a drawing.
nice.
Because I left him, and then he wrote all these songs about how horrible I was, which was great.
Well, if the shoe fits.
It did fit. I did not conform. I did not conform to his ideas of the ideal wife.
Well, I did get an album 20 years ago. I don't know if the album was Jungle Stud, but I don't know if that was the band or if that was the album name. I still have it somewhere, but I didn't realize there was a cover of TV Party by Black Flag in there. I thought that was their original song.
I think Jungle Stud is a local band, isn't it?
Okay. Well,
Is Nessa?
Go Google it.
I-
I've never heard of Jungle Stud.
Jungle Stud. I think I remember
Well,
hearing them in
the
somebody's
others,
backyard.
90s?
In somebody's backyard when we before we moved away.
well, it's like
Jungle Stud.
Louie from the Kingsmen. You know, the video on MTV was just like a dorm party or a fraternity party with them singing it. Because Louie is actually a reggae song.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, forgot about that.
And because that's the ephemeral nature of music, they come and go. You know that somebody starts this band and then leaves it, and this guy they do Arcadia and they do Power Station, and then they go back together as Duran Duran, and then they separate again, and so it's really remarkable. And the most remarkable thing, though,
Oh, they're a San Francisco band. Sorry.
Jungle Stud.
Yeah.
Then why were they here? I got it here.
Says the Jungle Studs were a side project funk-influenced rock band formed by members of San Francisco's punk band Flipper, Dead Kennedys, and Slug Lords.
I only know
Well,
the
that
Dead
would make sense.
Kennedys because the first punk was John Lennon. He was the only one that had talent. You know, if you can't play, you become a punk. You know that it's very rare to find a musically talented.
Anger drives any kind of music for young people. Anger, because we're all angry
It
when we
wasn't the
find out.
Beatles' early thing. I mean, I was living in the UK at the time, and you could go see the Beatles at the movies. And this is before Ringo joined, and then Ringo joined while we were still living there. But they didn't come across as angry.
No,
Not that
no,
I mean-
they were very poppy, but John Lennon was angry. But I'm saying usually
At what though? That's just it. You know,
he
like
was he had his mother
well,
died
the more,
or something.
The more I
don't
find
know.
out about
Yeah.
Lennon, God bless his dead soul, he was a dick. And his
Yeah,
music
he
was
was.
all right, but it became less penetrable and completely ununderstandable,
Well,
incomprehensible.
What Greg always points out is that there was a lyric. I used to be mean to my woman. I beat her and kept her apart from the things that she loved. Lennon wrote that, but he made Paul sing it.
Yeah.
And that's, there you go. And,
Yeah.
because that's what charisma will do. You can
Yeah.
browbeat people into doing stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I know. Well, he was a tortured soul, but
So was Van Gogh.
Yeah, that's true. But
Well, he didn't
He'll-
end well either.
he only lost
I'll
an
lend
ear.
you an ear and
Yeah.
sing you a song.
So was Ed Gein.
I'll
Yeah.
try not to sing
Well,
out of key.
but don't you think that people who are tortured, they're the ones that want to create a new reality by being creative people?
Except
you know-
many don't have that talent to make it into reality, to create it.
Yeah, but I'm saying I find that a lot of the creative people I know have had some pain in their past that they're working through.
Well, life
And
is
I don't
pain,
know about all-
Princess. Anybody who says anything else is selling something.
Yeah, that's true.
That's from The Princess Bride.
Yeah, but some
Well, I guess
had
it
more than
depends.
others.
You know, creativity doesn't have to come out of torture.
No,
I
not
mean,
torture necessarily, but
I mean,
you know,
that level of pain, not necessarily.
Well-
I mean, when we look at, let's think about Kerry Washington versus Viola Davis, or Angela Bassett
Mm-hmm.
versus Viola Davis. I mean, Viola Davis, she had life from hell in every direction. Angela Bassett, on the other hand, did not.
but do you give any credence to the idea that people who have had to suffer, especially at a young age, have a bit more ability to
No.
like empathy?
Well,
They
No.
can see things. I don't know.
No, I think you draw upon your pain, but either you have a creative spirit kind of thing, or you don't. And some people who have had tragic lives just lead more tragic lives.
Yeah, that
Some
is
people
true.
who
Because you
had,
got to have it to begin with. You're right about that.
Right.
because think
Yeah.
about 50
You know.
years ago in the making of Marathon Man. Dustin Hoffman, being a character or a method actor, stayed up for 4 nights, without sleeping. Let me tell you, from personal experience, that's hell. But Sir Larry Olivier, with whom he was acting, he said, "Why do you do that?" He said, "Because that's my method." He said, "That's why we call it acting, boy." And Sir Larry just turns it on and looks the same way, like he's been up for 4 days when He's,
Yes,
had a good
yes.
night sleep
Yeah,
the night before.
everybody's got his or own process, but
But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, though,
Yeah.
that some people, you don't have to live the hellacious life, that.
But I look around and I've been a lot lately thinking about the difference between people who look at something beautiful and see it so much more vibrantly than other people who kind of pass it by. Do you think it's something that you're born with, or do you think that it's something that you develop?
I think it's a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. You have to have the ability
Yeah.
first, but then if you tender it. Like my wife is a functioning tetrachromat. What the hell
me
is that?
too.
I don't think you
I
are.
am.
I don't think you are because
I can see. Yes, that's where you can see like a million colors that most people can't see. You can see all the gradations.
well, then you are if it's been
I am.
tested because
Mhm, it has been.
my wife sees colors like a bird. I don't.
too.
I say this is black, and she would say, "Oh, it's this, that." And so, but then she's an artist, and so she makes something of it. Versus someone who just looks at it and says, "Wow, it's alive, vibrant," and they leave it there and they just go on about their day and do their
Yeah.
regular activities.
Tetrachromatism gets compared to like you can see like a bee.
Like
Bees
yeah.
supposedly can see millions of different gradients.
Yeah.
And I
And there are people that see colors with sound.
Yeah.
That's
there's lots of-
synesthesia.
Yeah, I have
phenomena.
synesthesia. I feel sound in different parts of my body, and
Yeah.
I was trying to write a paper for a music class, and so all my questions had to do with where people heard certain sounds in their body, and once I started asking people questions and they didn't understand what I meant, I realized that, and I went back to my teacher and I said, all my questions are bad. I said, I
Yeah.
can't use these questions. And he says, you have synesthesia. Just, he says, nobody's going to know what you're talking about when you're talking
Yeah.
about this. And I was like, I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up.
Yeah, and you have people that are hearing impaired that can do extraordinary things with music. I think the first time I understood that was years ago when I heard a percussionist, Scottish Evelyn Glennie, just world class percussionist, play every kind of thing, and then come to find out she can't hear, so she plays based on the vibrations that she feels through her body.
Oh yeah, you definitely feel percussion through your body. So Lou Mang chimed in and he said there's definitely a local band called Jungle Studs. He said he opened.
There's
for
no
them.
S. Jungle Stud.
Well, Lou.
Oh, I know. What I'm
but-
saying is that.
Oh, on this record, yeah,
Yeah.
because the one in Los Angeles is with an S, but maybe the one locally isn't. But Lou opened for them at the Continental, so he remembers that they existed. Yeah, I thought I saw them at a backyard party, someplace in Allentown. I was with Greg and we went to this party, and I just remember I think Paul Galvin's band played there, and a few other bands were playing, and it was I just remember them being kind of wild. But okay, so thank you, Lou.
Those are people I never heard of
Yeah, well,
in my life until this very moment.
see,
The
you
closest
learn.
thing I heard that I know was when somebody mentioned Duran Duran.
So you see, you learn something new every day, whether you want to or not, Celeste.
And where did
Yeah.
where did they get Duran Duran the name from?
I don't know, but
Jane
Jane
No
Fonda
idea.
movie, Barbarella.
You got it.
Oh.
Right on. Vanessa's right on target.
yeah,
That's from.
Vanessa knows a lot of stuff. She really is
Yay.
knowledgeable. She amazes me all the time.
But then I have the trivia question. Vanessa, you can't answer this. Tell me two British bands with a drummer named Roger Taylor.
I don't know names of people.
Duran
in
Duran
bands.
and Queen.
Oh, did
They're
you know
not the
that?
same guy.
Nessa? Did you know that before our okay.
Yeah, 'cause,
Greg knows stuff like that too. I don't know stuff like that. That's not
No.
my bag.
There's certain bands that I like. I might know one or two people. I mean, probably when I was younger. At this age, I'm glad I remember the band. Right?
Well, John Deacon did all the investing for Queen, and now they're all amazingly rich. And Brian May, because he abandoned his PhD studies, but in the 30 years, nobody else did any work on it. If somebody else had done that work, he would have been aced out. But since nobody had, when he re-encountered them, he was able to complete his PhD. But it would all have been work lost if somebody else had done the issue. But that's why he was able to do his cosmology studies and get his PhD.
Yeah. And that's a
did you
nice
know
thing
that?
to know that there are
I
a number
know. I
of,
don't know any of this stuff. I'm.
Yeah, you know,
It's a-
there's
it's
a
a-
number. There's
yeah,
a
it's a
number
fascinating
of
story.
musicians
Yeah.
and celebrities that have these advanced scientific.
Yeah.
So
skills and
imagine you're
degrees.
you're a rock star. You're in the
Yes.
band Queen,
Yes.
and then the band breaks up,
Yeah.
and you decide to go back to school and get your PhD, and now you're teaching at a university, and your students are coming to your. Hey, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to know.
that's pretty interesting. I know. I mean, there's a
Well-
lot of like Sting was a teacher, like a high school teacher. Or
Yeah, he
something
was just
like
a high
that.
school
Yeah,
teacher.
I know. He
but
wasn't in the PhD.
Dexter Holland, who under his given name of Brian Holland of The Offspring, got his PhD in 2015 in cell biology. But he's
Yeah.
still making music. But the funniest thing about The Offspring is their first drummer left the band to go to med school, and he became an OBGYN. And this is a true story. He was being sued for malpractice. He's in court, and one of the opposing attorneys had a cardiac arrest. He jumps off over the stand, CPRs the guy, and the guy lives. So they had to declare a mistrial, but he saved the guy's life. You know, so he didn't. So he had to go on trial again. I don't know the result of that, but he used his knowledge, because most OBGYNs I know, like the one I could think of in South Carolina, when a patient passed out, she looked at her, stepped over her, and kept walking on her way.
Liability. I thought that this one commercial totally missed a golden opportunity. They did this thing where Paul Stanley of Kiss is taking umbrage at business places using the term rock star.
Uh-huh.
You're a rock star. You're a rock star. So somebody would be in a meeting doing well, and they'd say, you're a rock star. And Paul Stanley would bust in, give him the evil eye, and they'd be like, well, he's good at what he does. At the end of the commercial, he's at NASA. And of course, there's the rocket scientists. And I'm like, this has got to be Brian May. This has got to be Brian May. Because the missed opportunity is for Paul Stanley to bust in and like, oh, well, you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I know. That's the other one.
And
Rocket scientist.
Look up
and-
Johns Hopkins University's website, Thomas Dolby, and not under his given name. I forgot what Thomas, something basic like Smith or Jones.
Yeah.
He's adjunct faculty at Johns Hopkins.
Wow. You know.
Yeah, we have somebody there. Guy is on faculty at MIT. We've got Will I Am.
How do you spell that?
MIT. You know.
I'm letting it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
All right. So we're just on this tangent here. So Celeste, what's up with you? What have you been doing lately? Are you writing something? I know that you were doing some performance stuff last month. What's up
Yeah.
this month?
Well, you know, this month, as you know, a longtime friend of mine and mentor passed away, Kathleen Betzko. Yeah.
I saw that on. I didn't know her, but I saw that.
She was, aside from being a remarkable actor and screenwriter and playwright, her first piece that she did here because she's from the UK, on this side, was a piece called Johnny Bull. She went to New Hampshire, and where, you know, great actors and playwrights come. And her first trilogy before the first writer's strike came out was Johnny Bull. And the cast consisted of Carlene Dewhurst, Jason Robards, and Kathy Bates.
Wow.
And this was in 1987, 1988. And that was, you know, her launching in Hollywood. She'd married American GI. She came to the States. But anyway, the writer's strike that they had back at that time is what brought her to Buffalo. And I got to be friends with her through another poet, Jimmy Canfield, Jimmy Gilliam.
Yeah.
Jimmy Canfield, because they were pals and started a writers group. So she worked with me. She was a mentor of mine. I simply, you know, I was like, I didn't do much without talking to her.
Uh-huh.
So she'd been battling cancer for a number of years, like, you know, battling and winning. And then this last round, she was 85. And it was a struggle, but she was making it through.
Right.
And we were discussing, about her work, how we were going to do it. So this month has been pretty much, been talking about how because we lost her suddenly. We were planning and she was planning. But then we had this transfer trauma thing that I just learned about, nursing homes and hospice care and end of life care. That's
Yeah.
a whole nother animal that
Yeah.
needs its own, I don't know, own division of the world, if you will, because
Yeah.
it's never what it's cracked up to be. But anyway, so now we're looking at how to plan a celebration of life, but how we're going to categorize and protect her work.
Mm-hmm.
Where can it be archived and stored?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause she's got a lot of stuff. She is the co-founder of the International Women's Playwright Conference that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote a book on women's playwrights that's still used in colleges and universities today, even though
Yeah.
it was like maybe in the 90s or so with that first edition.
Sounds like this has been a lot
So
for you.
yeah, and it's not, there's a group of us, right? I call them K-Fam. But they're writers of the Crooked Circle and other, other poets that we've worked together over the years. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do
Mm-hmm.
is find places. Well, first of all, categorize her body of work
Mm-hmm.
because she had other plays and she had other writings and other poetry. So we're trying to protect that in a way that she would appreciate or
Yeah.
that she
Something
wanted
that
to do.
makes sense for her. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that sounds
So-
like a big undertaking. It sounds like you've got your hands full.
Yeah, but I'm but I'm not alone. I
Yeah.
mean, there's
Oh,
a
that's
group
good.
that
That's good.
we'll meet next week and divvy up things in boxes and
Well,
um,
if you wanna read like a poem of hers or something as a tribute to her on the show, maybe next week, that would be great.
okay,
Yeah, I'd love.
she's amazing.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. That would be nice, and we could do a little thing for her on the show. So we're getting toward the a little past 13 minutes left here.
Yeah.
So James, do you have anything on your mind today that you want to talk about?
Well, I did want to say that you have a whole album written about you, which puts you above Kathy Smith, who only has 2 songs written about her, although those both made the top 10.
No, they weren't all written about me, but there were just a few. There was partially about me and partially about his next girlfriend. So, but my picture was on the front, a drawing of me. But yeah,
I did have something happen in my industry in that we have these online forums. And today, a person wrote something about their practitioner, and they were asking for input from other people. Basically saying that she was traveling and went to see a different person, and that she liked the treatment that she had from this other person, and had asked that person about why it felt different. And the person said that your practitioner is probably plucking you, and that's basically cheating you. And well, other people are saying, well, if you don't like the person working on you, you should find somebody else, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hold on, time out. Nobody here is working on this person.
yeah,
You don't know what is happening.
yeah. You can't make judgment like that.
Exactly. And I told them a story about something that happened with me, in that, see, I have haters in the industry who like to do evil things to me. So this one person convinced one of my active clients, who was telling people about how great our work was, convinced this person that I was cheating them and beating it for hours. Now, this person had over 600 hairs per square inch. I'm kind of fast. I've actually done 10,000 hairs removed in a day. It took me 40 hours to clear this person's face and neck.
Wow.
Sounds like a gorilla.
Yeah. So my point for starting this is, if it takes me 40 hours to do a first clearance on this person,
Yeah.
how long would it have taken the average practitioner to even show a reduction on this person?
I have no knowledge of, of this.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Well, basically, the job that I typically do, I get people's face and neck cleared in 18 to 24 months. I have done it in 12 with people who cooperate. The average person would require 5 years
Oh my God.
and 500 hours
Wow.
to do what I generally do in...
Are there awards for your
There ought to be, I tell you that.
When James goes to the hair removal conventions, he is shunned. People will not talk to him.
Oh, because you make them look bad?
Not only that, it's primarily a female industry.
Oh, real. So what is the quote? It's going to escape me now, but there is a quote about that, about making somebody look bad by being so much better. But I'll think of it for next week.
Well, it's go out with your fat friends because you always look good.
That's one of them, but that's not the one
that's
I
what
was
I'm thinking of. You go out with people that aren't as good looking. Even if you're average, go out with people that are less good looking than you, and you look better.
That's a strategy. It's especially a strategy if people are drinking it.
Well, yeah, the beer goggles go on and you can see everything.
I know exactly. So Nessa, is there something that's been on your mind this week? We've got 8 minutes left.
Well, I don't know. It's sort of depressing. I am sort of rattled because a Facebook friend of mine posted a literal last thread or a last post, and it was their suicide post, and it's still up. And they had bipolar disorder, and they couldn't take it anymore. So they killed themselves and posted about it on
Oh my
Facebook,
God,
and
that's
it's a real
pretty
post.
awful. I'm so
I
sorry
had other
to
things to
hear
talk
that.
about, but then I read that, and it really rattled me because I'm sort of part of this little collective of shit posters. I consider that to be an emerging new art form, is shit posting on
Well,
social media.
considering
and
most of them are
generating
shit.
memes.
Yeah, that's
And
really.
this person,
So how do you
was
know?
active in that scene.
How do you know
and
that they actually took themselves out?
It's been verified.
Oh, that's awful. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Once I was on the phone with my friend who played the bass in the Blowtops. The night he committed suicide, he hung himself while listening to, I think it was a Led Zeppelin record he was actually listening to. And he had so many fake suicide threats that nobody knew that he really meant it finally this time.
Yeah.
But he
That's what
did. And I
happens.
just happened to be on the phone with him the same night. I was probably the last person he talked to. And that was pretty weird too.
Yeah, that's awful. I know. We've had a couple friends that have committed suicide in the last few years, and
I think a lot more people are going to in this climate. This
well, I think there's a
political climate. It's horrible.
not just the political
For so many
climate,
different kinds of people.
Everything's going too fast, and people can't keep up. I mean, for hundreds and hundreds of years, there was this steadiness to life, and since the Industrial Revolution, it's like on rocket speed.
Well, that's because what is the one thing in this room that changed everything?
Computers.
No, the light.
Oh.
Before the mid 1800s, you were by candle, and nobody was up overnight. Maybe the night watchman, but you didn't have policemen, you didn't have firefighters. That was in 1830.
But how
that
about
were dedicated.
didn't they have like gas lights outside?
Before that, though, that's what I'm talking.
Oh.
Before that, like in 1820 or in 1780.
Yeah.
I mean, when the sun went down,
It was
so
just
did
dark. Yeah.
and that the light there is what changed everything.
That's an interesting observation. I have to think about it. I'd never thought about it like that before. I was thinking computer when he said that. But
Well, certainly social media is contributing to the uptick in contemporary suicides, especially among younger
Yeah.
participants.
But you'd be surprised how many young people. There's a point in a person's life, a young person's life, where they realize, you go from being a child to understanding the adult world, and that's a hard transition. That's a really hard
Yeah.
transition. I don't know. What do you think, Richard? Do you think that's the internet's contributing to this idea of people not being satisfied and wanting to commit suicide?
I think it's the way they are using the internet.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, you can use it in a way that makes your life more stressful.
Yeah, even emails. I mean, email, it, it's it's too fast.
Well,
Well,
I mean-
it's so open, and that people can say these horrible things, especially malleable. And my first real big poetry stage thing, Topography of Women, was about human trafficking, and one of the most prevalent forms of trafficking is online trafficking, and victims typically are young men and women, teen boys and girls. We talk about the girls all the time, but
Boys too,
are
yeah.
also, and they become vulnerable and subjected to online blackmail and all these other kinds of things.
Richard,
You have people that are, logged into AI companions, which is wackadoodle.
Yeah.
And we know this. So there was a couple years, a movie about the guy who fell in love with his character, his voice, or whatever it is, his artificial voice.
yeah,
her.
her, yeah. But Richard, do you
Yeah.
think that young people should be kept away from?
They can't be kept
Technology?
away because it's too prevalent, but you do have to put guardrails on. I mean, I live with a 14-year-old, and it's hard.
So, but I mean,
keep up.
what do you think? How do you think your life would have been different if you had this kind of technology?
Wow, that's a hard one to say.
Especially in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
like
a
to
hard
talk
one to
about.
say.
I'd like to talk about that.
Counterfactual history.
what I think is it's always been there, but now it makes it easy for the stupid stuff you think and the stupid stuff you say to tell other people about it, when otherwise it would be at home with you in your mind and you wouldn't share it. But it's always been there. It was there 60 years ago. It was there 100 years
So,
ago.
yeah.
People were always individually idiots, but they were able to keep it to themselves. And the stuff that they wish they would pull back, how many things are put on Twitter or Facebook that they say, wow, 5 seconds later, I shouldn't have done that. Anywhere where you can't delete it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but the one thing I just wanted to say is what Hemingway said was, writing is easy. You just sit at the typewriter and bleed. And people don't get that. Nobody bleeds for anything. Nothing has any value. They don't have any skin in the game. That's why it doesn't have any value. Once it relates to you,
especially if you're anonymous. If you're anonymous,
it's easy to,
there's nothing to connect you to.
and there's
Yeah.
nothing to backstop you.
Well, that's changing because we have so many tracks on us. It's just weird.
Yeah,
If you go
yeah.
to Snopes, they did an article on the gray boxes that were appearing over Facebook posts and some other ridiculous things that I like going to Snopes because they do these odd things that come up. They will do the research and break it down for you. So,
I'll have to
I've
check
had a
that
couple
out.
times.
Yeah,
I've
David
read
and Barbara
these.
Mickelson, but now they have a bunch of people working for them.
Right.
Well, this.
Well, but think about this. We have these cameras that do everything. We can be seen here, and it's clear. Why are bank cameras blocky, black and white, low res, and they only take one film every 5 seconds, one frame? Of the most secure place, considering
That's a good point.
that.
They, maybe it's an inside job. They don't want.
Well,
Legacy
this-
technology.
Yeah.
that the average bank doesn't have enough money to make it worth it robbing it. Well, it depends on what worth it means to you or me,
Yeah.
Worth it to me is 100 G's. And, worth it to somebody else might be $5,000. So,
I knew.
You know, with exception, I'll do anything for a $50 gift card.
Anything?
That's what I said, with exception to James, especially.
In the book of questions from 40 years ago was, would you eat a bowl of live crickets for $1,000? And there's a guy in high school said, I'd do it for $50.
Klaus Schwab's going to make
All
you
right,
do
we
it
got
every day.
9 seconds. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you for the people out there if you're watching. And I think we're done. Yeah, that's it. Bye, everyone.